Hey guys, so today we're talking about Tana Mongeau and it's not for a good reason. I feel like I've been really giving her the praise and benefit of the doubt recently. She has made heaps of progress in being a friend and content creator. I feel like she hasn't really been in much drama. I even watched her recent H3 interview and I really liked her. I liked the way she conducted herself, the way she talked about, her family issues, parents. I thought it was a really interesting interview and she has seemed to grown over the last few years. She's not as problematic as she used to be. However, you probably saw that however coming, but recently she has decided to make up with someone where I just find it kind of unacceptable, mainly after the way she has spoken about the whole situation, but that's just kind of a trend with Tana Mongeau. She jumps on trends of hating someone to then turn around, meet them at a party and just be cool with them. I feel like her whole thing is she falls out with people to then make up with them almost immediately. Bella Thorne, Brooke, who she had the podcast with, Shane Dawson. I just feel like there are so many situations where, with Shane Dawson, she was liking tweets about how inappropriate he was with her when she was barely legal. And then she just went to a party with him, had fun, and then that was it. That was done. It's such a whiplash for her to say such crazy things about someone and then just be friends with them again. She has called out James Charles in the past multiple times after they fell out. They fell out originally because he just didn't treat her well and he thought that she was always late and unprofessional, so they just fell out, they stopped hanging out, whatever, that's one thing. But she said that he talks to minors, talks to his fans, talks to straight men, tries to change them into not being straight anymore. Said that she would never make up with him. He's the one person that she regrets being friends with, and she did it with a Bryce Hall video where people ask her questions and she said that that's the one person that she regrets being friends with.
Most shocking two-faced influencer. Ooh, James Charles. Who is one person you wish you never became friends with? James Charles. You win some, you lose some,
She discussed how unethical his behavior was and the power dynamics between young boys / fans and him.
And we were we were friends.
When you're 18. Yeah,
I was trying to take it.
Didn't he get called out for a million times and he's he just continues to do it over
and
and
he's
over?
still just, it's such an abuse of power, which I think is such a thing. If
James
you're
Charles?
using your power dynamic to your young fans and manipulate people.
Weird.
And it's weird. We were just friends for so long and he would hide so much like that from me and just do so much that in my opinion, don't want to get sued, that in my opinion wasn't ethical or right. And if I'm someone who's saying what you're doing is morally wrong,
It's
you gotta
wrong.
be doing some wrong.
It's got to be off the
I'm
deep end type
not
shit.
just out here the moral police.
Of course. Self-righteous Tana here.
I mean, the power dynamic's such a thing. I think that with James Charles, that really started to come into play where people, during that time, people began to actually hold people accountable for using their power against their fans. And I think that it's crazy that this year is the first year
it took really long for people to
see-
finally start to recognize that was happening and
how wrong that
necessarily.
She discussed that also a lot on the Jeff FM podcast. There was obviously the clip where recently James Charles was caught messaging another straight TikToker, and that TikToker posted the messages and James was basically very cringe, just posted a CV of this is what you get when you date me, and a lot of it was centered around money and fame. You get free trips and you get a house, a multi-million-dollar mansion. It all sounded very you're buying someone to hang out with you. And she addressed that on the Jeff FM podcast and she was very, whoa, this is crazy. I was so happy to talk about this.
Let's get right into the news. Sorry, this one brings me joy, and that's so f***ed up. It's so f***ed up for bring me joy. James Charles is back at flirting, making straight men uncomfortable. The alleged screenshots reveal the benefits of being his boyfriend. In one text, James says it's a really lucrative role. James used Instagram's vanish mode to attempt to prevent a leak. Can you read these texts? Well, you probably can't see that.
I can't see that far.
So you could tell that she was very against James, despite her friends being friends with James Charles, and she even, made some TikToks about Amari going to James Charles's birthday.
Okay, you guys, so if you don't know, now you know. I'm in Palm Springs right now for James Charles' birthday. Love Miss Jamie Charlie, Camp Charles, all that good stuff. But right now, we just got presented with these banana bread shots. It's oat milk and cookie and banana and I don't know. It's supposed to be really, really good.
So we're going to try.
And then they addressed it in a live stream.
You guys, I told you guys I was at James's birthday. I don't know what more you want.
He was at James's birthday. We don't know what more you want.
Damn, I don't see y'all commenting on Mario's
Traitor.
Where she was basically sticking to her version of events where she's I'm not going to be friends with him. You guys can be friends with him, but I'm refusing to because I think it's unethical. The fact that she called his behavior unethical, she was it's bad when me, Tana Mongeau, calls something unethical. And so Jeff's also against James Charles because of the way she has addressed James Charles around Jeff. I'm assuming Jeff Wittek. Recently, Tana and James Charles have made up. So on a recent Jeff FM podcast, they talked about the fact that Lele Pons just had her wedding and James Charles was going to be in attendance and Tana Mongeau and Jeff were going to be in attendance. So she thought to be civil, she would make up with him before the wedding so it wouldn't be awkward.
So we went to Lele Pons' wedding in Miami. Yeah. James Charles is going to be there. And I just like kind of made up with him. You know what I mean? Like, not like, we're never going to be friends, but like we had like a nice talk about just like being civil. Mm-hmm. So I saw him, we're like, yes, slay. And you're like hot. You're like,
I just didn't, I stuck to the plan. You know, yeah. I knew that we were going to go there. We do a pop culture podcast. We talk about topics that aren't going to sit well with some people if it's about them, especially those types of allegations. So we gave our opinion on it. And we knew that we were going there. We were going to cross paths. And my whole thing is like, I'm just going to be cold. You know?
You were ready for it.
And I'm like, you can go to the same event without making up with the people that you've fallen out with. She did the same thing with Shane Dawson. Like, she went to Jeffree Star's skincare launch in LA. After calling out Shane Dawson for being inappropriate with her, she went to this event and then just had to make up with Shane Dawson because they were all in the same proximity. It just feels like she can't just say no to people. Like, I don't know what it is because she's so confrontational in her videos and she was always very confrontational. She never shied away from drama or calling people out. But there's something about her being in close proximity with someone who she just fell out with that just makes her make up with them straight away. She said that she's gonna, make up with James Charles just to be civil. She's like, oh, we don't have to be friends, but we can just be civil towards each other. It's like, I don't know if you want to be civil with someone that you called unethical. Like, you said that they were unethical. I don't know why now all of a sudden you're like, no, we need to be civil. We need to be civil because of this one wedding. And Jeff was left out of the loop. From what I've kind of gathered from the conversation, he felt like he was left out of the loop because he's still not friends with James Charles and he's still not civil with James Charles. But he was like, we were at this wedding and Tana just like says hi to James and I'm stuck being like, whoa, I thought we were against James. And he's basically saying that he's now doing this battle on his own, which I'm glad that Jeff is sticking to his guns, despite Tana Mongeau being so weak in her opinions and how she stands on morals and ethics. And this has happened on multiple occasions because I remember Jeff called out Tana for still falling into the trap with David Dobrik despite what David did to Jeff. So I remember there was a situation where Jeff called her out and said, you took a picture with David at the launch of his restaurant and he did that because he knew how it would look on me that one of my friends is still clout chasing off of him. It's like he's getting the leverage right on Jeff to be like, haha, your friends like me more than you because I can give them more clout. And he called her out and she said, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. And she always does this where she betrays a lot of her friends and betrays a lot of her, like I said, ethics and morals for, peace, for clout, for, is it because James Charles is blowing up on TikTok again? I don't know what the situation is. And then Jeff also addressed how she talks to a lot of the Vlog Squad people just in her free time at events when she doesn't really have to. She can just avoid them. And even Jeff has an issue with this. He has an issue with how she doesn't stick to just one thing, stick to some kind of a moral ground. And she's like, yeah, but I always talk very highly of you and yada yada. And it's just that's not the point. And the whole thing with James Charles being like, oh, I'll just be civil with him, I don't have to be friends with him. It's like, do you want to be civil with someone that you called unethical, that you said used power dynamics against younger or not as financially well-off people? I just don't really understand why you would even want to be civil with him. You can go to a wedding and just not run into each other. I bet it was a massive wedding. You don't have to talk to him. You can just be on the other side of the room. It's fine. So I'm kind of shocked with everything that she said about him that he would even want to be civil with her because if I'm James Charles, right, and Tana Mongeau said so much about me publicly, why would I want to be civil with her, right? And then with everything Tana Mongeau said about James Charles, why would she want to be civil with him? I don't really understand. I've given her a lot of praise recently, but I feel like all of that is just wow, Tana Mongeau just manages to do something really good and then immediately just backtrack on, ow, Phoebe's scratching me. And then immediately just backtrack on all of it just for funsies, for peace, for clout. I don't know for what, but she's doing it for something. So let me know what you guys think about all of this. I know we've all been kind of yay, Tana Mongeau just becoming a good friend and a good person. And I saw those comments in my last video about Tana Mongeau and now I'm yikes. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Subscribe with the bell icon for engagement and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.